The Lost Mermaid-Chapter 22. Over the following days, our search for Mermena grew tiresome, yielding little success. Everyone's mood grew increasingly irritable, as all were eager to return to the Arboretum. Still, we couldn't go until we had enough Mermena stored for the mermaids' travels. I was enchanted by their world, but the fruitless search left me wary and uncertain about whether I wished to stay permanently. Heather said, "Collect as many blossoms as possible. We shall migrate with the whales soon, and shan't return until fall." A few glowing Mermena blossoms floated down into the ocean. I gathered them into my pouch, grateful for the precious, protective herb. I heard hushed murmuring. A nervous vibration rippled through the merfolk. Sensing their fear, I looked ahead and spotted a strange trail of glowing lights in the distance. Curious, I asked, "What is that?" "'Tis Mermena, but they hath drifted into the kelp forest," she whispered. "The keel spear rests there. No one may go near, however. We are so low on blossoms that the matrons have allowed it." She paused. "Sing with me." Together, we sang. As we swam, I watched in disbelief as I slowly began to fade from view. Watching my hands and arms disappear was an unnerving experience. Undeterred, we pressed on toward the kelp forest, looming ahead of us, dark and ominous. Despite the foreboding atmosphere, we managed to find a few blossoms and quickly made our way back to the pod. Pearl swam up to us with a distressed look on her face. Her porcelain complexion had become flushed, and her eyes were red and swollen from crying. Heather said, upon seeing her upset child, "Please excuse us. It appears as if someone needs a mother's care." "Of course," I responded, trying to reassure them. "Don't worry about me. I'll join Suede and the others." I gestured towards a group of merfolk who were floating nearby, engrossed in a wrestling practice of some sort. Before leaving, Heather whispered, "We shall be back soon, but Pearl may need a nap." I smiled at Pearl and waved goodbye, saying Jay Quay in their native merfolk language. Heather carried her child, gliding home to the orb to sort things out. It seems mothers always know how to make everything all better. As they left my side, a lilting call sounded. I looked around to see warriors riding dolphins into the area. I hovered in the middle of the pod as mermaids gallantly swam beside me. Remembering Emerald's warning to never be alone, I swam over to Suede. He said, "Hail, friend. The sea calls. Will thou gather stars with me?" "I am ready," I replied. "My satchel is still empty." "Let us change that," he said. I loved his amiable nature and confidence. As the other mermaids swam away, Suede and I ventured out into the cold, gray water. The eerie singing of the merfolk was the only sound we heard. I shivered, hoping we could fill our pouches and leave quickly. In the black abyss below us, the sea monster lurked, adding to my unease. "Do not worry," Suede said, as though sensing my fear. "The creatures are nocturnal. They do not eat until nightfall." I nodded, hoping he was right. As Suede and I swam, we noticed a faint trail of Mermena descending into the depths. We kicked our tails with urgency, eager to collect as much as we could. Something about the place gave me the creeps, as it had no signs of life except for the haunting melodies of distant mermaids. Despite my unease, I swam deeper, drawn towards a large object concealed in thick seaweed. Extending my hand, I went to touch it but stopped when I realized what it was. Bones. My eyes widened as I jerked away. Huge, white bones. It was a rib cage so big I couldn't see the other side of it in the darkness. I fought panic, wondering how terrible a monster lived there. As I glanced around, I noticed things I thought were rocks and coral were actually more bones. I hoped I would never have to face the sea monster that had made these. I looked up to see distant mermaids appearing like tiny goldfish, collecting glowing Mermena. It seemed that in the underwater realm, each mermaid was accompanied by a merman that protected them. "Suede, why aren't you singing?" "'Tis fine. As long as we are quiet, nothing happens. I wondered if he was right. I still thought we should be singing, but I didn't know the songs of the sea. I pushed through the kelp as the slithery leaves brushed my skin. I could hear the sound of creaking in the darkness. Something was definitely down there, but the water was so dark I couldn't make anything out. Movement caught my eye and I jerked around. I let a shaky breath of relief out when I realized it was just Suede. He swam past, weaving downward through the seaweed forest. I grabbed his tail. "What are you doing?" I hissed at him in a whisper. "The monster is down there. If we get too close, it could wake up." He pulled his tail from my grip, giving me an annoyed look. "I want to see what it looks like. This may be my only chance." "Are you insane?" I shook my head. "It's not worth it." He dove deeper into the darkness. "Wait," I struggled to keep up. The farther down we went, the colder it became. The only thing I could see was Suede's tail. If he left me, there was no way I'd find my way back. Oh, I hoped we wouldn't see the keel spear. Suddenly, I felt warm water rush past. We both stopped, turning slowly to find the source. Something was moving in the depths. Suede rushed to hide behind me. His jewelry lit up with a soft glow, illuminating the two of us. A huge head. Asleep. I let out a soft breath and thankful prayer, adding a fervent plea for it to stay asleep. The monster's mouth was half open. Shreds of seaweed stuck between its jagged teeth. All I could make out was its enormous jaws and its stone-speckled skin shrinking back from its jowls. As my eyes acclimated, I saw the rest of the creature. It looked like an obese blob going on and on with wicked spines protruding down its back. It reminded me of a fat, slimy slab of lard jiggling as it slumbered. I shuddered. I couldn't move. Why can't I move? I remembered learning in psychology class that people react to trauma with fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. I realized I was frozen. I needed to do something. Fly, Julie, fly. I shook myself out of my daze, forcing my muscles to work. I grabbed Suede by the wrist, dragging him as I sped away. I could see a distant light. I kept my eyes on the tiny glow above. The water grew brighter as I kicked my tail with all my might toward the sun's rays. I yelled at Suede. "What on earth are you thinking? You could have—" I stopped suddenly. He wasn't listening. He wrenched his wrist from my grip. "Leave me be," he cried. He swam down into the murky water again. "Fine," I snapped, whirling around, swimming up without him. I was not going back down there, no matter what. But a shriek of pure fear stopped me. I looked into the fathoms below to see the serpent lunge. The gluttonous beast pounced. A huge fin shot out of the darkness, whacking Suede, who floated lifeless in the water. Was he dead? Without realizing what I was doing, I pumped my fin downwards. But the greedy creature consumed Suede, devouring him in one gulp before I could reach him. "No!" I screamed. This couldn't be happening. I retreated, cold fear overtaking me. Suede's scream of pain rang through my veins. I had to escape. As terror pulsed through me, I pumped my fins into the unknown depths of the kelp forest.